government does not lose.
That's it.
The government will never lose.
That the biggest lesson they've learned from the previous regimes is the government should not lose. All right? Anyway.
The timing of his sentiments, by the way.
Yeah.
Very suspect.
I'll tell you that.
Communicating something.
That's it. Ketani, I'll tell you that. There's just a lot of things around this finance bill 2023. The most contentious issue right there is the housing fund. There have been a lot of questions that have been put across. Even Charles Hinga, by the way, the PS Housing, was forced to walk out of a parliamentary committee questioning sanction when he failed to answer the contentious issues around the housing fund. Atusemi aligonga glass, then after that pia kashindo kujibu maswali mbele housing committee. But guess what? We leave it for now. That's some of the issues that we're going to get into this morning. But then on the silence of that, on just a good spot, the difference between Arsenal and Manchester City, by the way, is not a double digit as people were thinking. There are only two strong teams in the EPL as we finalize that particular competition. It is Arsenal and Manchester City, the only two teams with 80 points. In fact, you take them anywhere across Europe. I was looking at this stat. If Arsenal's 84 points will be taken across Europe, there will be kings in over 32 competitions. That's how mighty Arsenal are this season. We're not going to talk about the rest of the teams that didn't even come close to 80 points, because I do not understand how a team or any other team in the league can play 38 games and then fail to get to 80 points. It just makes sense. Anyway, can we kill it there? Before we kill it,
just want to remind you one thing. I was waiting for you to kickstart the conversation, but I just want to tell you one thing. You see, it's only small teams whose season is already done and dusted. Big teams, competitive teams are still playing over the weekend in cup finals. Ask yourself, what cup final of Arsenal played this season? None. So please, give us a break.
Oh, we can kill it there.
Arsenal is just on high-budget Kariobangi shots.
We can kill it there?
Yeah, we can.
Thank you very much. Finally, Everton has again survived. I think the trophy for Everton for the past like 4 or 5 seasons has been surviving relegation. And I think it's going to catch up with them finally, because I don't think that they can keep on doing that from season in, season out.
I shall tell you what, though. I do think Sean Dyche is the man for the job.
You tell me
I don't think come next season they'll be battling for survival.
So, retain him.
Retain him. He's the man for the job.
But he's known as the man for last-minute survival, and that's why they brought him in.
Did wonders at Burnley before they were relegated, but we don't know because the financial constraints at Burnley. But I do believe he's the man for the job. But away from football, Recep Tayyip Erdogan was re-elected as the president of Turkey yet again.
I'll tell you that, man. Yeah.
See, one of the most powerful leaders across the globe.
You would say that. Some people have called him dictator, but we're not going to get into that. Just exactly how some people view his leadership style. Just going to leave it there. Anyway, some of the stories, by the way, we're talking about this morning, especially the stories around the finance bill 2023 and Uhuru Kenyatta getting back into politics and exactly what the president has said or not said this weekend around the political arena in the country are going to form the back end of our conversations right here in the morning on our big conversation. And by the way, covered heavily on our website. There's a www.lookuptv.co.ke, Ketani.
Talking about former President Uhuru Kenyatta, he's in Nigeria, so is Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi representing Dr. President William Ruto for the inauguration ceremony of Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was elected as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He will be sworn in today after being elected, and he, of course, defeated Peter Obi. Yes. So
the story that babysitted, that after they went back to counting the elections in Nigeria, they found out that the one who was not declared the winner actually won the elections. The big speech from Uhuru Kenyatta is, well, listen, embrace your brothers in this country. Where would they go? They're part and parcel of this country. Essentially saying, please, get into handshakes. They're good for the economy and for the stability of African peace in general. All right. Now, guess what? We take a tiny breather right here on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, Ian Ketani and I will be taking you straight into whatever it is that you're waking up to this morning in terms of your dailies. And then later on, then get into the gist of our conversation this morning. All right. Welcome back to the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage.
And I'm Ian Keitani.
Ian Keitani, do you have, you always, keep on reminding me this thing.
Listen.
I don't know why we have to keep on doing this. Last year, not even last year, like what, 3 months ago, you actually did say that you'll always be going by your 3 names. Why are you not saying it?
I said when it's raining. Certainly not raining.
It's raining outside.
I told you
can somebody get Keitani a shot of exactly what's going on outside?
Like I said, Kiprop means rain. So when it rains, I'm Ian Kiprop Keitani.
It's raining outside.
When it's not raining, I'm Ian Keitani.
It is raining outside.
End of conversation.
It's raining outside.
Simba, let's look at the dailies. You don't want to hear what I had to say.
No.
What I was planning to say.
It's raining outside.
It's not raining. Certainly.
You're the one who started. The weather is not really that good. Then I asked you, what is it good for?
Simba. Straight to the Daily Nation this morning.
Straight to the Daily Nation this morning.
Let's get straight to the Daily Nation.
Tell us what is there. Here's the thing. If you say something, you gotta mean it.
No way. No chance. I said when it rains, it's not raining.
It's raining. Stop saying that it's raining outside.
Talking about raining. It's
okay.
We're trying to find where the rain did start beating us as a country. Because the headline of the Daily Nation says Ruto seeks 2 billion shillings to globe trot. They say taxpayers will fork out 2 billion to facilitate President Dr. William Ruto's trips abroad if Parliament approves the budget proposals for the financial year starting July 1st. Now, the National Treasury has allocated 700 million shillings for the President's state visit, but MPs have now been told to add another 1.3 billion shillings, Simba.
I'm telling you, man, as opposed to cutting down, again, it's a big expenditure from that. Here's the thing. They approved 700 million, but they were told, bwana, ongezea huyu jamaa pesa ni kidogo bwana, ataenda wapi na 700 million? Muongezea 1.3 billion, apate 2 billion atembe bwana. Where is this money going to come from, Keitani? At the time when the president is saying that this country is broke.
You know where the money is going to come from?
Yeah.
Me and you. Or you and I.
You and I. That's exactly what it is. I'm telling you that it's a big story they're waking up to this morning, that he indeed needs 1.3 billion extra to travel, right? Make it 2 billion. Do we say that a million is a 100 is a million millions, by the way? A billion is a million millions, all right?
Yes.
So you want to have 2 billionaires, that is 2 million millions. He needs that to travel.
See, but talking about
what for? I don't understand it.
See, the biggest debate, by the way, when you see the president, who's, an official visit, state visits outside the country, he has an entourage of around 30 people. What are they doing? What are you going to do?
Represent the country in...
You see, the president was vocal and he said, we cannot be, going as head of states. 50 heads of state from Africa are going to sit before one man.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with 30 people in an entourage going to visit another country? Apply the same logic, Mr. President.
I'm telling you, man.
Because already, if Kenyans have to, fork out another 1.3 billion.
Just to enable you to travel and your entourage as well, then we need to start asking questions, isn't it? Just go with a couple of, maybe 2 CSs and that's it. Done.
Goodness me.
I'm telling you that. So we have to think about 1.3.
Tighten your belts.
I'm telling you, man.
Professor Njuna Ndungu said in January, tighten your belts. Things are not looking good. And certainly, he meant every word. They say, Simba, the Treasury data shows that the recurrent expenditure by the presidency for the first 7 months in his office was 12.47%, which translates to around 931 million more than the 7.47 billion spent by the previous administration a year ago.
I wanted you to say that. I actually wanted you to say that. That indeed, how much is it? 900 and what?
31 million.
931 million more for a president who's been in office for 7 months.
It takes me back. Takes me back to the time when the office of the president, deputy president, and the prime cabinet secretary spent over 800 million.
Just on cars.
Just on cars.
The 3 men. All right? I'm telling you. But they need more. And the same man who's telling you that tighten your belt. Musalia Mudavadi said it's going to be tough for the next 3 years. You like to say, he would have said, well, I've actually asked the president to cut down my office expenditure for the cars to maybe half of that so that we can actually get much of this money probably into the housing fund. He didn't say that.
I want to give you an assignment, Simba. Mr. Musalia Mudavadi, the prime cabinet secretary, is in Nigeria. Go and look at the entourage, the guys he went. That's the number of people who accompanied him for the inauguration ceremony of Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You'll be surprised.
I'll tell you that, man.
But away from that, as well, there's the housing levy debate. And of course, President William Ruto now says the housing levy is unstoppable, despite new demands from the opposition, the Azimio-led coalition, of course, under the stewardship of one Regalo Odinga, who tells the president, listen to Kenyans or else you will face a battle you've never seen before in this country. And of course, like I said earlier, is that yesterday this Busia senator, first-time senator, that is Okia Omtata, we know him for his court battles, trying to, represent Kenyans in the courts. Yesterday he said, threatened that he will go to court, proceed to court, to take on not only the finance bill, because they poked holes into the bill saying it contravenes key sections of the constitution, but as well the housing levy. And guess what? He was blasted not only by the head of state himself, but as well two cabinet secretaries, one Ababu Namwamba and one Moses Kuria.
I'll tell you that, man.
So it will be an interesting, few weeks ahead, because I personally do expect Omtata to go to court, despite being slammed by the president, despite being slammed by CSs. But when you look at his, reasons for, going to court to, petition against this bill, his concerns are genuine, Simba.
They are.
Very, very genuine.
They do.
So the only hope the Kenyans do have are some of, these leaders, including Omtata, and Obamu Namwamba was telling him, why don't you table a dissatisfaction with this bill in the Senate? But guess what? Omtata will still go to court.
That's it.
We're going to hear if the court will get to listen to him or not.
All right, let's jump into the Standard this morning. Some stories now. We've already spoken about how Uhuru has sold the handshake politics to African leaders. Read that story on page 5. And on the Standard, the big story there is on the tax pressure that has piled now on one Dr. President William Ruto. All right, they really essentially just looked at 4 issues that he's facing right now. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta back in politics. It looks like an issue that he has to contend with, and the opposition could rally its supporters back to the streets again this week, if indeed the bipartisan negotiations do not go on. And then again now this week, by the way, tomorrow, it's a story that we're going to cover right here on Lookuptv. Azimio parliamentary group is going to meet Tuesday just to see exactly how they can fight the government on this issue for taxes, and then how Ruto now enters into the final week then of looking into the finance bill 2023, but the most contentious issues there being the housing fund. Those are some of the stories they're going to wake up to, and read that story on page 6 as well. Other stories online at www.lookuptv, across all your social media platforms, at Lookuptv, across all of them as well. Now we take a tiny breather. Ian Kitani will take you straight to the newsroom, where we're going to give you a couple of news that you are waking up to this morning.
Yes. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has assured Kenyans that the government will not allow the revival of the Mungai gang. While speaking during a church service celebrating the retirement of Bishop Julius Gitau at Erick Town Cathedral Thika in Kiambu County, of course, Gachagua said that any other leader involved in the revival of the gang will face the full wrath of the law.
In a church service held at AIPCA Cathedral in Thika, Kiambu County, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua delivered a strong declaration to Kenyans, assuring them that the government will staunchly oppose the resurgence of the outlawed Mungai sect. Expanding on his stance, Gachagua issued a resounding warning, asserting that the government will wield its power against anyone involved in luring young individuals into the clutches of this criminal gang.
Will not allow the revival of that criminal gang. It will not happen. I want to take this opportunity to appeal to our young people, to church leaders and elders. Please talk to our children. That person who is reviving this gang is setting our children to be killed. And since the government will not allow, I want to ask parents to talk to your boys. I want to ask our leaders to talk to their children, not to allow to be misused and set for trouble.
Employing sharp rhetoric, the deputy president took a jab at former President Uhuru Kenyatta, holding him accountable for the troubling predicament of illicit alcohol that continues to afflict the central region. Kikuyu Member of Parliament Kimani Ichung'wah, who was in attendance, took the opportunity to galvanize support for the proposed housing levy while urging the government to investigate extrajudicial killings during the former regime.
And I asked Your Excellency, what coincidence is there that a government that had a national intelligence service and administration in every corner of this republic never got wind of Uyo Mackenzie slaughtering people and burying them in Shakahola? There could be a chance, and we want the CS Interior and DCI, to investigate whether there is a correlation between the Shakahola massacre and the extrajudicial killings that were perpetuated during the handshake regime. Inawezekana ile serikali walitumia maybe Mackenzie kuwasaidia kuficha miili ya wale walikuwa naua.
David Alex, Lookuptv.
Interesting sentiments by the leader of majority, Kimani Ichung'wah. Moving forward, Interior Cabinet Secretary, that is Kithure Kindiki, has issued a strong warning to the leaders who influence the youth into becoming members of illegal groups like Mungiki to advance their interests. Kindiki has also warned leaders who use terms that are likely to bring violence in the country, saying that although Kenya is a democratic nation, the government will not allow any form of hate speech. Audrey Cherotich now reports.
Speaking during the Pentecost Sunday service church at ACK Siakago, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki emphasized that the government will continue to respect the place of churches in Kenya.
Ningetaka kwa niaba ya serikali nishukuru kazi nzuri ya kuhubiri na pia kuhusika katika maendeleo ambayo imefanywa na kanisa la Kianglikana hapa nchini.
Kindiki noted that 1% of the churches in Kenya have rogue preachers who propagate wrong teachings to their followers, adding that police officers will continue with such operations to unmask such preachers, explaining that what happened in Shakahola will not happen again.
Where we have a few people promoting dangerous teachings that could lead to the kind of harm that we have seen in Shakahola, we are tracking down a number of preachers whom we believe are also involved in the kind of dangerous gospel that Mr. Mackenzie was involved in Shakahola. In
addition, the Minister of Security has announced that security officers who have served for more than 3 years in the same center will be transferred immediately, while those who are incompetent will receive due punishment.
Tanzia hapo, any officer who has served for more than 3 years must leave as a start. Lakini vile vile kama kuna maofisa wetu ambao wako na ulegevu kidogo kikazi, suluhisho sio kuwahamisha, suluhisho ni kuwaadhibu.
Kindiki has also mentioned that as the issue of illegal alcohol continues to be a persistent concern in the country, the government already continues to enforce strategies to fight the war.
Tumewatangazia vita. We are also coming for you. There is no difference between you and bandits. So we are also coming for you. Tumefanya mkutano wa kwanza kule Nyeri wa counties za Mount Kenya West na operation inaendelea.
CS Kindiki has given a strong warning to the leaders who are influencing and involving young people from the central region to join illegal groups like the Mungiki.
Non-elected leaders, former leaders, including national leaders, anybody involved in recruiting.
And on the same breath, Kindiki has given a notice to the youth not to accept being used by leaders in indecent ways, saying that the government has sworn to deal with lawbreakers.
Including Mungiki. We are coming for you.
Audrey Cherotich, Lookuptv.
Well, thank you very much, Audrey Cherotich, for that particular story. That story, by the way, brings us to the end of this bulletin this particular morning here on the Morning Drift. But remember, Simba Elijah Charles Kiage will be joined by Erick Mungai, and of course Erick Regalo, to give you details on what has been transpiring in the country, the state of the nation, and more specifically, the housing levy debate and the finance bill. Don't go away. It will be an interesting conversation that, by the way, you can watch live across all our social media platforms.
Sensei Institute of Technology is the home to the best practical courses, giving you a hands-on experience to handle the world. For you to join us, ensure you have your national ID card and be ready to enjoy the ride. Sensei College, my skills, my future.
KM Lookup Media, the holding company for Muthingi and Lookuptv, proudly presents the Mount Kenya Region Roadshow. It's time to mark your calendars because from June 26 to July 1st, 2023, we are bringing the excitement to Kiambu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Embu, Meru, Laikipia, Nyeri, Nyandarua, and Nakuru counties. Are you ready to be a part of an electrifying TV roadshow? Join us as we embark on a thrilling journey through the magnificent Mount Kenya region. Lookuptv and Muthingi TV are hitting the road. We are coming straight to your towns. But that's not all. We are not just bringing you TV. We are bringing you an unforgettable experience. Enjoy your favorite comedians like Njoro wa Ukulima ni Mali, Marafiki, among others, live performances, and get a chance to meet your favorite TV personalities right in your own town. To our sponsors and partners, book your slot for the greatest brand experience and conversions. To book this fast-moving opportunity, call 0110-430-158 or email sales@lookuptv.co.ke. Get ready to be swept off your feet as we bring the magic of television to your doorstep. Let the TV adventure begin.
We as Novena United Circle are a society that is able to provide a platform for business startups by providing financial aid to members and creating a platform to accumulate their savings. We look for small business entrepreneurs who are starting a business venture and provide the best opportunity to expand a business niche and turn it into something big. For more information, call us on 0768 757 956 or WhatsApp us on 0734 832 430. Novena United Circle. Tuungane pamoja.
All right. Welcome back to the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Join us online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. There's just a lot of issues that we're going to focus on this morning, but this week is that week when indeed the public participation process on the Finance Bill 2023 that essentially is going to form how the budget document 2023-2024 is going to look like. And this weekend. We've seen both sides speak on the bill, and we've seen exactly what has transpired around the political and public feelings around this particular bill. Now, before I introduce then the gentlemen who are going to join us in our conversation this morning, I'd like to introduce this particular story right here that is going to form the back end of our conversation. Now, President William Ruto's tax proposals have received support from our university students despite opposition from most sectors. And as a reporter now, Shada Karere reports, the contentious finance bill in 2023, according to the Kenya University Students Association, will go a long way toward resolving members' housing needs and also in addition to creating employment for young people. Let's take a look.
More entities that participated in the Day 7 of the 2023 and 2024 financial bill public participation have supported it.
We'll be saving students from the clutches of slums. It is disheartening to see our fellow students forced to live in slums due to lack of affordable accommodation. These areas are rife with dangers exposing students to life-threatening risks, depression, and other social vices. By implementing a comprehensive housing plan, we can create a safer environment for our students, providing them with security they deserve while pursuing their education.
Association of Kenya University Students, being among groups who appeared before the Departmental Committee on Finance, supported the deduction of 3% levy for housing project. The students stating that the project will give them access to affordable housing.
The one which have been constructed already, students not benefited. But I was actually asking myself, do students have money to buy the houses?
3%, because I know there will be a devolved function whereby all these counties also, there will be houses in all these county governments. We'll also see a scenario in which students also will benefit from the same.
In a rejoinder, a section of border riders backed the idea, stating that if passed to be law, they stand to benefit from employment opportunities.
Kwa kazi yako ambao unasema ya kwamba huu mradi utaweza kuleta kazi kwa sekta yako ya bodaboda.
Unajua mimi ni mfanyikazi wa kazi nyingi, nafanyanga mjengo. Kwa hivyo ikiweza kukuja bado naweza park bike kando na niweze kuingia mjengo na ndaweza pata riziki yangu hapo ya kila siku na wenzangu.
Their sentiments were also supported by the Technical Vocation Education and Training TVET and the Juakali sector.
Waimbaji, unaona ile kitu inawalemea nyumba zao za kukaa. That's why when the president alikuja na hii, sisi kama waimbaji tukaketi chini tukaona tukisupport na tukiingia kwa hii housing itatusaidia sana sana, because ile shida inakuwa na waimbaji. One, mambo ya nyumba chairman.
And this is also an opportunity for us to generate capital to kickstart our businesses, or to create employment for ourselves and also for other people. So we are very much supportive.
However, a majority of entities who have so far appeared before the committee have opposed the bill, terming it harmful to Kenyans.
Now we are saying that approach would, if it passes into law, we believe it can successfully be challenged later.
The process will end tomorrow, where many entities are expected to give their opinions.
And as per our constitution, any regulation would have to go through public participation. So this is the first debate that you're having. Then after this, if the bill passes as it is or as recommended, especially on the housing fund, then the ministry will have to come up with regulations and do public participation on them, and the regulations will have again to come to Parliament for approval.
Shadra Kareria, Lookuptv.
That's it. So it means essentially that after this week, then we'll be looking forward to further participation in that bill. But then the entire process ends today. Members have spoken about it. Kenyans are waiting on it. So let's then talk about exactly what we've seen happen around this particular bill. Let me introduce the gentleman who are joining us this morning. I do have Erick Mungai. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Good morning to our viewers.
Happy to have you around.
It's always good to see you. Usually it's a bright Monday morning, but today is a chilly morning. But you know, married men don't complain about.
I was telling Ketali the same thing this morning. You didn't listen. Also joining us this morning is Erick Regalo. How are you doing, sir?
Salama, how are you?
Fantastic.
It's called Lookuptv. Kenyans should look up to everything that is happening in their country.
I'm telling you.
And it was such a nice weekend because during the weekends, all the MPs go home to tell their people what they know about whatever they know.
Yeah.
And from Saturday, Sunday, there was a lot of noise all over the country.
We're going to talk about that, by the way. You say exactly what happened to Boni Kalwale.
Yes.
Yes. All right. And this morning we're supposed to be joined by James Kakuya, but he did apologize this morning. Something came up in terms of exactly what is going on in Parliament, and we do accept his apologies. He said he's going to come in this week as well. Fine. So let's talk about that. And I would like to begin with you, Mr. Mungai. The public participation process ends this week. What would you make of how this week, the entire of last week and then this week has been essentially in terms of the public participation process in the Finance Bill 2020? I want you to start from that. Last week we were told the Border Association essentially embraced the bill, and today now we're getting told that yesterday university students also embraced the bill. Talk to me about how you felt the public participation process has been throughout.
Thank you, Simba. I must say that, last time we were here, we did say that there is an opportunity for the public to participate in making sure that, and you remember us debating whether public participation is a futile exercise or whether they do put the views of the public into consideration.
Yes.
Well, I must say that this last week has been an eventful week. We had many actors presenting their proposals to the Parliamentary Committee, and we had Kenya Association of Manufacturers, we had trade unions, we had border riders, as you say. I also saw there were musicians that presented their views towards enactment of the bill into law. And we have had proponents of the bill. We've also had people who are against certain provisions of the bill. And as we enter the last stretch, I can almost tell now that we have gotten to a point where it's now political.
Yes.
You can see, you know, when you're in politics for a long time, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then surely it must be one. So I would say that last week has been very eventful. We also had the Busia senator threaten to go to a competent court of law should the bill be passed into law.
Yes.
That is Okiya Omutata. He has threatened that, of course, he has received his fair share of criticism in the event that he was in, but I believe it is his right. So we are going to have more back and forth this coming week. The committee clearly has its work cut out, and it would appear from what Nation is reporting today that a majority of the people that presented their petitions or their views to the committee were against. I saw the Nation yesterday quoting they were in their thousands.
Yes.
That were against.
Yes.
But I think also it's important as we look into the thousands that are passive, what do you call that word, in terms of perception against the bill. I think it's also important to listen to voices that actually support the bill and what it is that they support. Because at the end of the day, this country belongs to all of us. The back and forth is okay.
Yes.
The arguments are okay. It's good to have a conversation and see where we can find a point of convergence.
Yes.
But in the unlikely or likely event there is no point of convergence, then the minority will always have their say and the majority their way.
Pretty much. By the way, I should apologize. Regalo is not feeling that okay this morning. Hopefully we're going to get done with this conversation. He's under the weather this morning. Talk about the weather that married men are not supposed to complain about. Anyway.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's all about finance bill, the whole of last week. And this week, it's still going to continue until we go to Parliament.
Yes.
On my opinion, it is healthy to have such a conversation. but it's also, in my opinion, it is wrong to tell people it has to pass. It's wrong to tell people that the government I lose. The question is which government does not lose and who is the government? Unless I never went to GHC class and taught primary school GHC, who really constitute a government?
The government, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So if what constitutes a government, that a government does not lose, meaning the powers that be will ensure you go to the judiciary, you lose. You go to parliament, you lose. And since there is executive that want it to pass, it will have to pass. Mm-hmm. So the government which does not lose is actually the government that now will control even the decision of the judiciary should Okia Omtata make true to his threat. I wish to tell these people who make noise that the government doesn't lose, that the government always loses. People who don't lose are the people. The government will always lose. And even now it has lost. Because the minute you're saying that, what are you telling the people?
Yes.
That I'm going to do it, you like it or not. So is to say, yesterday I had Mr. Ruto say that those people who have pay slips are the ones refusing to be taxed. Or do I use the name tax? I mean to be, or let me use the name tax because anyway.
Or refuse to contribute.
Contribute. You know, you don't even understand what is the meaning of tax because now that English is becoming hard. Refusing to contribute. And that brings a question to ask. When I read Hiroshi Kiyosaki's book, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
yes.
The person who wears a tie like you, bro, you are the poor dad. The rich dad is a dad that is always dirty, with very dirty hands. Anachota makaa, anapimia watu makaa, gari ya makaa inabeba, inauza. That is the rich dad. The guy who wakes up, does a very good shoe, trouser, a coat, a tie, walks akimbo, going to work, is a poor dad. Because they live strictly on budget against their payslip.
Yes.
So if Ruto is saying that the payslip people are complaining, yes, the payslip people have loans, and their loans are pegged on the payslip. Should you mess with their loan a bit, you've messed with their payment plan, they have to renegotiate payment plan with the bank.
Yes.
So that person making noise and refusing to pay is actually telling you, I'm under stress. You need to listen to people who carry the burden of the country. The payslip people are the people you pay because most of them are civil servants. So if you want to peg it on them, then you're hurting them. So when you say ati wale mahasla hawasaidiki, my father, my dad, let me use the word my biological father, he's a mechanic in Kariobangi Light Industries. He is the rich dad. I'm not saying he's wealthy or rich, but I'm saying he's the rich dad because he's never had a pay slip. But he took me through school. He took me through college. He assisted me in everything until where I am. And that guy has never earned a pay slip. So he made it. How many pay slip people are not able to take their kids to school? So if you want to attack the pay slip people, you're actually also getting it wrong, Mr. President. Please, leave the pay slip people alone. I don't earn a pay slip myself. I stopped earning a pay slip in 2011 from the government. I actually resigned from the Ministry of Health on 23rd September 2011.
Yes.
And stopped earning the pay slip because it was not mattering anymore. The pay slip was not helping. I started doing jobs hapa na pale. So don't attack the pay slip people because I've been there and I know what they go through. And I'm even giving you the date I left the government. Over 10 years ago, I left the ministry. And many of myself, have left the ministry. How many medics have left the ministry? Reason, the payslip could not match up what they want to do. So the payslip people are actually the poorest. Erick will agree with me. Here we are not politicking. Eric, you know what a payslip is? The payslip people are the poorest. The business people who don't earn the payslip are the richest. So how are you going to shelve people who are earning payslip from being hurt? That is what I'm asking the president.
Yes.
You are telling me you're going to take 2,500 from them. Have you gone to a bank, you're told, if you had 2,000 against your payslip, ningekupatia loan ya $500,000. Ungekuwa na hiyo 2,500, ungeingia kwa 1.5 million bracket ya loan. Meaning ukitoa 2,500, ya pia kwa payslip, you've reduced the power of lending from this guy.
Yes.
This guy, if he was in a bracket of lending 1 million, he'll never get 1 million. He will get 700 or even 600 because of that 2,500. So is the economy so okay that you can pull out some money from him that now he can survive on what he can get from a loan? The economy is not there. And that is why you're normally told when you go to a bank, you're told, endolete payslip. Then if you had any other loan, you're told, hii loan tukiondoa, hii tuondoe. Can we buy off this loan so that you can get this money? Why do they do that? So that your power to pay the loan will be increased so you can get better money.
Yes.
So when you reduce their money, and that person had a plan to make his own home. Actually, me, I'm against this house. I don't need it. And I will pay.
Yes.
I am agreeing, I'll pay because now you want me to pay, I'll pay.
Yes.
But I don't want it.
That's it. That's where the conversation begins, Eric. And just before we start weighing in on exactly what they've spoken about it.
Leave alone that.
Yes.
Leave alone that. We are talking too much about money.
Yes.
Of the housing. We've forgotten even Akina Aziad, Akina Rikomondi, those people who survive on creating imagery.
That's done now paying withholding tax, isn't it?
They will be paying tax.
Pegged at 15% of whatever it is.
This is the government that said we are going to create studios per county where young people will come with creative ideas and do films. And hiyo ni mambo ya kuinua mahasla.
Yes.
The same hustler who is creating things so that you go to TikTok, you're happy, and is getting some bit of money from TikTok and from YouTube, has to pay withholding tax. That guy is going to be crushed. Maziwa inaenda kupanda. We are not talking about this thing, we are talking about house. Right now, have you realized, unga imepanda, sukari imepanda, mafuta imepanda, maziwa haijapanda. But they were making noise, Uhuru anapandisha kila kitu. True brother, maziwa haijapanda for the last 6 months. Na kama imepanda, Erick is here, will tell me, Erick, maziwa ilipanda. He's actually my namesake. Maziwa imepanda. Maziwa haijapanda. Now they are going to tax 16% against ile tini ya kubeba maziwa. Na unajua inatakanga iko chini, unabeba, unaleta hapa inafika kule. So, like it or not, the Githunguri people, where maziwa is a lot, the Kinangop, where maziwa is a lot, they're going to feel the tax of maziwa. And those are the wananchi who are not being told the truth about this thing.
Fine. Here's the thing. But I want us to start this conversation like this then. Mr. Mungai, this is what Kimani Ichung'wah said this weekend, that if you intimidate the president, because now let's talk about the politics of the finance bill, then we are also going to stop you. And this is what Okium Tara said in his right, straight to the president's face. It's like, the Constitution is my biggest friend. More than you, President Ruto, to his face. The finance bill has many bad things that are offending the Constitution, and this may end up in court. I've already prepared a petition to go to court. And Mr. Mungai, it's not just Ruto who's facing a backlash on this. Boni Khalwale this weekend, in his own turf, when he stood up to drum support for the Finance Bill 2023, majority of his constituents told him, no, we do not support that. But then, Mr. Mungai, here's what we are getting, that we're getting treated to from the government in this conversation for the Finance Bill 2023. That indeed, you did not come to us so that you could give us proposals. No. You're coming to us so you could tell us why this has to pass. And indeed, you're saying it has to pass.
I'm not sure whether, I've listened to my namesake,
yes,
and I agree with him to some extent.
Yes.
But we must also face the reality as Kenyans, that one, the government has to get money from somewhere. That is the first point. Because we have obligations to meet in
yes,
terms of debt obligations, and not necessarily even emanating from this particular regime, but emanating also from previous regimes, and not just Uhuru's, even because government is a going concern.
Yes.
Secondly, Kenyans are asking for services, and the services must be paid for. Now, the challenge usually is, and the president said when he went to KRA last week, you remember he was in KRA while filing his returns, and KRA must become creative in terms of where they gather their sources of tax, in terms of where they get money from. I disagree with Regalo that we should not tax people in the creative economy. We need to have let us have a sober conversation. You see, for the longest time possible, it is the guy with a pay slip that bears the burden of taxation. Why? Because he's the easiest guy to target. He's a sitting duck.
He's a sitting duck, isn't it?
Like when you go to the military and you're a sniper, there is that conspicuous object or conspicuous target that you can see, and that it is easy even when you're just fresh from training in college. You can actually shoot that one because that's an easier target. And so the payslip guy for a long time is a sitting duck. Why is he a sitting duck? Because one, we have his records, we know how much he earns, and so if we want some extra resources, then we know where to get those resources from.
Yes.
And therefore, KRA has an obligation to widen the tax bracket. And part of widening the tax bracket, you have seen some of those celebrities flaunting words of cash in social media. You will never see a payslip guy go withdraw his salary and put words of cash on his bed. It's not possible. But it tells you that it is time government extends. I mean, when you go to Nairobi CBD,
yes,
you can see there are a lot of exhibitions, there are a lot of stalls. I mean, you can see Kenyans are becoming creative and they are opening businesses right, left, and center. As to whether they are opening them to scale or they are opening them for survival is a different case altogether. But the truth is, if you're earning a coin somewhere, you have an obligation to pay tax. Why? You every day, if you board a matatu, you are using a road that part of the contribution to building that road, part of the loan that has been taken by government to build that road, part of that money is taken from the payslip guy. And so we need to ease the tax burden and widen the tax bracket to as many Kenyans as possible.
Is that not where the temptation is then? That instead of you looking for other places elsewhere, just like you're saying, you're going to the same people who you already taxing to get whatever services that you're offering, which are not that good.
But you see, Simba, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Why? You see, anywhere in the world, taxation is always a contentious issue, especially when there is a trust deficit. Because we must also discuss the issue of, in the bank where we bank trust, the deposits are very low. Because Kenyans feel if we give you our money, then chances are high we might not be able, that money might go to Simba's pocket or to Mungai's pocket or to Regalo's pocket as government officials. So there is also that discussion on trust deficit in terms of where does the money go when we raise that money. But coming to the housing fund issue in itself, as I said when I was starting, it is easy to drown the conversation especially when you only listen to the critics of the housing fund. And it is important sometimes to also listen to the proponents. What are they saying? And let me give you an example, Simba. So I was doing a research, and I found that on Thika Road alone, there are 32 matatu circles. On Thika Road, you know, from CBD all the way to Thika. There is a minimum of around 32 circles. Now, when you look at those 32 circles, for NTSA to register a circle for you, you need a minimum of 30 vehicles. Okay? Now, having said that, each matatu will ordinarily carry around 35 people. Okay? Now, when you do the math, if you do, like, say, 2 trips in the morning when they are coming to CBD, just 2 trips, you find that on Thika Road alone, based on that statistics, you'll have around 50,000 people coming into the CBD in the morning. And the question I was asking myself is, of those 50,000 about people, approximately, where do they live? Where exactly, when those people in the evening board the matatu to go home, where exactly do they live?
Yes.
And you see, those people live in, I'm specifically focused on Thika Road. So those people live in either Mathare, Lakisama, Roysambu, Kasarani, Jomoko, all the way to Matangi, Thika, and all those places, okay?
Yes.
And I was asking myself, of all those Kenyans, how many of them own a place they can call their own? And therefore I asked myself, do those Kenyans ever feel the need to ever own a home or a house? That's the first question. The second question is, if you look at historically in this country, and you know, sometimes it's good to be honest, there is a desire for Kenyans to own a house or a home. And I use those two differently because you know, a house sometimes could be an apartment, but for purposes of distinction, okay? And most Kenyans will prefer to buy an eighth where they can build something. If you look at the history of this country, you will realize that Kenyans have fallen victims of people who have taken advantage of them, courtesy of Kenyans wanting to own a place they can call home. And we have many examples to boot. And for example, it is alleged that there was a circle in Thika called Lesedi. We saw media reports, allegedly 1 billion had been lost from Kenyans who are willing to buy an eighth, a quarter, and their contributions were around 300,000 to 1 million for them to just own a piece of land that one day they could build a house. If you look at scandals like Ekeza Sacco, Ekeza Sacco sank with billions of money contributed by Kenyans. You saw a petition to the Senate last week, the Housing Committee of Senate. You saw that an estate in Kisaju, Kenyans contributed money. From 2008, they have never gotten title deeds, and they actually took a petition to the Senate because the developer closed shop. So it tells you, when you look at the experience, that indeed there is a need for Kenyans to own houses.
Yes. Okay, I want to hold your sentiments right there. Once we come back, Regalo, from this tiny break, I want to bring to your attention that PS Hinga faced a parliamentary group committee last week.
A very sweaty affair.
That's it. These questions that you're saying here, and let me tell you the top questions that he was asked before he walked off, because he couldn't answer any of them. He was told, he was asked, once this money is contributed, where is it gonna go? Number one. Number two, who is going to manage these funds? Number three, what interest rate? Because the president keeps on saying, well, you're gonna earn it with interest rate. What interest rates are Kenyans looking at once they reclaim this money after 7 years? He couldn't answer. So again, that's the same question. Majority of the people were saying, well, we do not want this. Those are the same questions they're asking. Is this money gonna go down the drain? Why can't we be clear on exactly how it's gonna be managed? Number two, is it true that indeed every Kenyan wants to own a house? What about those who are telling you No, I do not want that house. Once we come back then, we'll be listening to exactly what the president said this weekend about this particular issue. But again, once we come back, I would like Regalo to weigh in on this. What presentation are we getting from the government? Is it, tell us whether you like it, or it has to go through? Is that what we're saying now? Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift, my name is Simba. Elijah Charles Kiage online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. The story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual, support in bridging the care gap, part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties. We sift through the rubble of every breaking story and present that which matters to you.
When it breaks,
there will be no handshake.
It matters, and each story is important.
It is my duty, and indeed the duty of every citizen of Kenya, to pay their share of taxes.
That a number of proposed tax measures will have significant negative impact on taxpayers.
Tuesday nights are for 360 degrees analysis of current affairs, from politics, economy and social issues.
Ruto apunguze mafuta. Angalau hata hali ni ngumu.
We break down current affairs and have conversations that speak to you, the viewer, putting emphasis on not only facts, but also tell you why the figures matter.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
Sisi tunaomba serikali tuangalie kama hawezi tuachiri kazi watuletee hata kama ni mzungu.
As we usher in the weekend, we let our hair down as we highlight conversations around art and well-being. Join me, Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani,
Marian Gashohi, every Monday,
every Wednesday,
Thursday.
And I, Brian Amuai, will be bringing you news during the weekend and on Tuesday on The Bottom Line.
As from 9 p.m. on The Insight.
Only
on Lookuptv.
All right, welcome back. We are still on the politics of the Finance Bill 2023. And right now, I just want us to look at exactly what the President spoke about this particular issue this weekend. Now, as the debate for the Finance Bill 2023 gathers pace, President William Ruto has defended the bill, insisting that it will help in turning around the economic situation in the country. Now, as Ian Keitani reports, Ruto has urged Kenyans and more so members of parliament to support the bill ahead of its tabling in parliament. Let's take a look at this story. Then once we come back, Regalo is going to weigh in on the sentiments of the president.
Mimi si wazimu. I know what I'm saying.
As the conversation surrounding the finance bill continues to elicit mixed reactions, Kenya Kwanza loyalists on the receiving end while trying to campaign for the bill, President William Ruto has urged Kenyans to support the bill as it will help implement his bottom-up agenda.
Sasa niwaulize watu wa Busia, kama nyinyi mnatusaidia kulipa mshahara ya mwalimu, ya daktari, ya MCA, ya mjumbe, ya rais, tukitoa 3% ya pesa yetu ndio hata nyinyi mkue na kazi, iko makosa?
While addressing a congregation in Busia Stadium, the president castigated the opposition for poking holes into the bill, terming them as selfish and against any attempt by his administration to lower the cost of living.
Sasa hii story tunaambiwa ni gani? Sijui kama tunaelewana watu wa Busia. We must be honest with ourselves. Viongozi ndugu zetu wa upinzani jana wanasema ati wao ni jobless. Sasa my friends, mbona mnadanganyana? Wakenya wanalipa between 500,000 and 1 million kwa hawa wajamaa pension, pesa ya Wakenya. Sasa mko jobless namna gani? Mtu anapata 1 million jobless?
Ruto insisted that if indeed the bill passes, the government will put a stop to importation of key materials and items and help promote local manufacturers.
Tuendelee kuagiza kutoka nje ama Omondi atengeneze? Tupitishe hii budget ama tusipitishe? Namba ya 3, tumeweka pale tukasema simiti ambayo inaletwa kutoka nje isiletwe tena. Tuko na viwanda ya kutosha hapa. Tuweke vijana wetu katika hii viwanda watutolee simiti, tujenge nayo Kenya. Ile ya kutoka nje tuweke ushuru.
Busia Senator Okiya Omtata, however, took the opportunity to express his reservations with the proposals on the finance bill, faulting the proposals for various constitutional breaches.
Na nimeangalia finance bill, na finance bill inafuruga katiba kwa vipengele kama 6. Na mimi nakuomba waheshimu katiba, wazitoe, kwa sababu wasipozitoa tunaenda kukabiliana kotini.
The first time a senator threatened to head to court to counter the bill as sports CS Sababu Namwamba told him off, telling him to use his mandate as a senator to table his dissatisfaction with the proposals in the Senate.
Things in that katiba kama hii housing levy ilikuwa kwa ile nyingine, na mimi ndio nilienda kotini nikaichapa mpaka ikarudi kwa voluntary. Sasa mnataka tena nirudi kotini?
You know, you used the court platform because it was the only platform available to you. Nimesikia ukiambia rais utaenda mahakamani. You have any issues with the finance bill or the budget policy statement, go to the floor of the Senate and reflect the will, the voice of the people of Busia.
In what looked like a veiled attack on the opposition coalition led by Raila Odinga, President William Ruto urged Busia Senator not to proceed to court as the bill would benefit Kenyans from all walks of life.
Unajua uzuri ya huyo Okiya, hata agenipeleka kotini si mbaya, kwa sababu yeye hajapanga kuharibu biashara ya mtu, si ndio? At least hajapanga maandamano. Unajua kuna wengine wananitisha ati usipofanya hii tutapeleka maandamano. Sasa hawa wengine ndio wabaya zaidi. Eri huyu Okiya.
Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
Now that's exactly what it is. This morning, let me just say hi to Mary Elliott, who's saying that she supports Erick Mungai on the issues of not taxing the creative industry. Lisa is saying that it's an interesting conversation. So thank you very much for our online community for being part and parcel of this conversation. So just before I went on a break, Regalo, I ask you this question, and this is what is not essentially clear. Is the government asking Kenyans to weigh in on this issue so that they could know what to do? Or the government is telling Kenyans, we know what to do and you have to support it, whether you like it or not?
It's very simple. The government is telling Kenyans that public participation is nonsense.
Yes.
It's not necessary. It doesn't matter what you do or say, we are going to make sure it passes. That's basically what Majority Whip said, and the MP from Kilifi,
yes,
forgotten his name,
yes,
said.
And also, we've also seen Elkano Osoro also talk about it like that.
Yes, said that it has to pass.
Yes.
And the president talking about cement, another dishonesty. Cement prices are going to go high because it's going to affect the production industries. And one of them that is going to be affected is cement.
Yes.
And if cement goes high, the building and construction industry goes high. So building and construction means even roads, everything that uses cement. And basically anything that you need to build, at a nyumba ya kuku, you'll need a cement.
Yes.
So the prices are going to go high. The other thing I'm weighing in is, he talked about Okiya Mtata going to court, and yeye kwenda kotini haribu mali ya watu. Is it the government that destroys people's things, properties, or is it opposition? It's a question that doesn't have an answer. But the answer as per now is the government destroying properties of the people.
Yes.
It may not be a fire lit on the road, but as long as somebody is affecting your pocket, it's destroying your property. So I would tell you, in fact, the government is doing more hurt in maandamano than the opposition that is talking about. So destruction of property does not mean burning a tire on the road.
Yes.
Hurting people's pocket is destroying their livelihood. The government has not provided free health care. So when you destroy their earning, you destroy their health. The government has not provided free primary education, secondary to university. So if you destroy their pocket, you destroy their education.
Yes.
The government has not provided free security. If you destroy their pocket, you destroy their security. Why do we have security firms if we have police everywhere? Ask a question. Do we have to have police? Then we have security firm. So if the government cannot provide you good security and they hurt your pocket, so the government is actually destroying property than any other thing or any other person. Okiya Mtata, we know him and what he has done. We know Okiya Mtata cases during election. We keep on referring Maina Kiai, Okiya Mtata.
Yes.
Those are the two names you'll ever hear in election petitions. Maina Kiai, Okiya Mtata. Ababu Namwamba has PhD in law. Which case in Kenya has he won? I need Kenyans to open and tell me, Erick, Ababu has won a case against a kitchen seller.
Yes.
And this.
Yes.
He has never won any case. So
yes,
this guy has never gone to any law school.
Yes.
He has won.
I'm sorry to cut you short there.
Okay.
Because if you go back to the Jubilee government, by the way, that this agenda was born out of the affordable housing agenda.
Yes.
Okiya Mtata right there is standing in front of President Ruto telling him, you see, I was the one who went to court and represented this, stopped it and made it voluntary. Do you think the president right there should actually rethink about this? Because he knows very well, if this guy challenges it again, I'm not going to have it as from the 1st of July then.
And that's why there's always reference in court.
Yes.
Okiya Mtata will go to reference on his own case.
Yes.
That's what I'm telling you. Okiya Mtata has no basis in law per education. But Okiya Mtata has cases, what we call jurisprudence, will go along the way in changing the way we work and do our thing. And there was a challenge that he was given still. He was told, you going to court has provided how many people jobs? That was another shallow thinking. You know, I listened to that thing. How do you ask such a question? if you are truly of good mind. Okiya Omtatah going to court has provided jurisprudence to many things in this country and will offer great leadership in this Kenya through that case, and cases is done years to come.
Yes.
You may become a president, you may become a minister, you may become a corporate chairman, and you'll serve for 5 years and leave. And people will never remember you, but Okiya Omtatah's cases will be remembered even 40 years because it will be referred to. So how many people create their names in the glory of Kenya that will be remembered? When I see Okiya Omtatah standing and talking in front of the president, I'm seeing a Kenyan who loves the Constitution, like he said. And I respect and adore this Constitution than you, the president.
That's what he said, actually.
Yes.
That the Constitution.
So you touch this,
Mr. President.
you touch this,
Yes.
we'll fight.
Yes.
That's what he was actually telling the president.
Yes.
You touch this, we'll fight, and I'll fight you in court. Why can't he fight him in parliament? They said they can buy everything. They say, and that's why I refer to MP Kilifi and I refer to Osoro.
Yes.
If someone threatens you that ikitu ipapita, umpende msipende, kwani inapitia wapi? It will be in parliament where it's going to pass. Then why do I still struggle going to parliament?
Yes.
Let me go to court.
Pretty much. Regalo, I just want to hold your thought there, because tomorrow the Azimio parliamentary group meeting is going to happen on exactly what their strategy is going to be in fighting the government from passing these taxes that have been proposed in the Finance Bill 2023. Mr. Mungai, let's speak for what it is now. And I want you to critically respond to that question right there that I've put to Regalo. How does the president still proceed to drum up support for the Finance Bill 2023 with confidence when there's a man right there who stopped it when he was still in government, by the way? He was still drumming up support for the affordable housing agenda, and it was stopped by Okiya Omtatah. Now, he's a senator, he's gone back to his home, and that man right there, he stood in front of his face and told him, you see, Mr. President, this we do not support. I've already made a petition. I stopped the other one, and I'm still going to support there, and I'm still going to stop this. Now, let me give you some numbers. Sears, for trade, Moses Korea, was this weekend weighing in on this. Do you know that only 30, if you go by his numbers, only 30,000 Kenyans, even indeed the 4 million Kenyans who are getting targeted on this, essentially saw it as something good. Out of 4 million, only 30,000 Kenyans are on the voluntary affordable housing agenda. Is it not sense, therefore, that in a way the affordable housing agenda is a failure, that majority of Kenyans do not consider it something that they can push for, Mr. Mungai? And number two, why can't the president tell his boys, his Kenya Kwanza-led members of parliament, his CSs, to let the public participation process go as it's supposed to go? Is it not reckless for Member of Parliament to stand in front of us and say, whether you like it or not, this is going to go through, while the public participation process is ongoing?
Yes.
Very good questions. And I like the passion with which Regalo is affirming your questions.
Yes.
I can see he's almost jumping from his seat to say, Mungai, answer that one.
Well, Mr. Mungai, answer that one.
No, don't answer. Let's talk to Kenyans. Question.
But let me first say this. Okiya Omtatah, the Honorable Senator,
yes,
in terms of jurisprudence, he's done a better job than some of the senior counsels that we know of in this country.
Yes.
And granted, that we cannot take away from him. Secondly, I must say that his right to go to a competent court of law is equally the right of any other member of parliament equally to voice his opinion on any matter,
yes,
on any subject,
yes,
within the law.
In what way, though?
It might not settle well with our liking, but it is what it. Sometimes you see, part of the challenge I foresee with this finance bill,
yes,
is not really a challenge of say implementation. It's really a challenge of communication. And what I am finding is that you remember just during the break we were discussing PS Hinga when he went to State House, and we were saying it was a very sweaty affair.
Yes.
And I think what is critically lacking in the government space is people who can communicate effectively to the understanding of Kenyans on why they need this. Now, to go to the former regime of President Uhuru, his was even ambitious. He wanted to do 500,000 units in a year.
Yes.
Ruto has toned it down to 250,000. And I am hoping he succeeds so that the next president does not come in and turn it to 100. Then we turn it to, 50. Then we say, forget about housing in this country.
Yes.
I really, my desire is that he succeeds. Why?
Yes.
Sometimes it's good to benchmark with what other countries have done and whether or not they have done it successfully. There is a man, I think every Kenyan now knows Singapore by virtue that that country is quoted in every TV or radio interview wherever you go.
Yes.
And part of his agenda when he came into power was to do the affordable, for his government to engage in constructing affordable homes for his citizens. And he says in his book from Third World to First World, he says that when he first mooted the idea, in his whole cabinet, they did not think that it was something vital and something that needed to be done. In fact, he says that it is only the defense minister who took up the issue passionately because the armed forces were going to be part of the beneficiaries of the housing scheme.
Yes.
But he goes ahead and says, because of the vision that he had for the country, he had to overrule his cabinet members and persuade them to make sure that the project was successful.
Yes.
Today, as we speak, and we saw the Singaporean, was it the Prime Minister?
Yes.
The other day came to Kenya. One of the successes, apart from Singapore being a financial hub, is that the housing scheme has largely been successful in this country. Now, why am I using that example? I'm using that example because sometimes we may oppose something, one, because we do not have a track record of getting things done correctly. You know, we come from a history of we are always suspicious of government's intentions, and with good reason. Because remember, when the former regime came into power, President Uhuru's, he had an ambitious NYS program to recruit as many young people as possible. Till we were hit with a scandal of, what was the name of this lady? Is it Ngirishi? The lady from the Saloonist, who graced our covers. And I think sometimes when you steal, you must have a face for the newspaper. So we Kenyans.
I didn't know that one was coming.
Yeah, me too. You know, you need a photo where Kenyans can elicit sympathy. Yes. But that's on a light touch and besides the point.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Kenyans are coming from a historical perspective where they have seen ambitious government projects being used to siphon money from them. And therefore, regardless of whatever the president moots in terms of ambitious projects to move forward, there'll always be an aura of suspicion. And this is what I was explaining to Regalo before we went to the break. I was saying the president needs to extend, leave alone his actors who are saying it will pass whether they like it or not. Leave them aside for a bit. But the president needs to reach out to as many parties as possible, one of them being the Federation of Kenyan Employers. He needs to call them to the table. He needs to call the KOTU to the table and all the affiliates and make them understand why exactly do we need this housing fund. Secondly, how can we improve on this fund moving forward? You know why? Because these are the actors who you're targeting their payslip. It's the part of the unions represent the workers. So it's part of the team you're targeting to nip some coins from them. So you need them on the table to explain to them why exactly they need to contribute towards this noble cause. When you leave it sometimes to your strong men and your supporters sometimes, or your Kenya Kwanza members of parliament, to explain to the people, sometimes they will bring the political theatrics to the table. And that is why you keep on referring to Mupende Musipende, the bill will pass. But I believe the president sits, as much as the public participation is ongoing, I believe he has a prerogative to call as many interested parties as possible to State House.
Yes.
Open, you know the way when he was deputy president, he had opened Karen to all of us.
Yes.
He needs to open State House.
So, but then whatever you're suggesting there, right there, Mungai, is it just a little bit too late? Because it's already been drafted. What should have happened first? And that's why majority of the lobby groups are actually saying, no, we do not like this.
No,
Simba, we were not heavily consulted when you guys were drafting this.
It's not, you see, it's never too late to do the right thing.
Yes.
It's never too late.
Mr. Regalo,
the best time was yesterday,
yes.
but the next best time is today.
Yes. Then that means that we have to go back and start with changing this particular draft, which is essentially just a couple of months to June, to July. I will tell you that. We have to start looking at budget 2023-2024. The same mistakes, by the way, even in the previous regime, they were told, guys, you did not consult properly when you were coming up with this proposal. So is it making the same mistakes that were made by former President Uhuru Kenyatta? And he was actually part of that government that was drumming support for the affordable housing agenda. So once we come back then, Mr. Regalo is going to start weighing in. I mean, we've said, and we've been talking off camera, this is what he says off camera. Well, I think it's time now that Ruto has to agree that he needs Raila Amolo Odinga. So what is Raila Amolo Odinga doing this week? Tomorrow, there's a parliamentary group that is essentially going to be chaired by Raila Amolo Odinga, when they're going to talk about exactly what they have to do now that the public participation process is done for them to stop the government from introducing this particular taxes they're proposing in the Finance Bill 2023-2024. Again, once we come back, how is it that all civil service union groups are saying, well, if you pass this, then we're going to go back to the streets? Was it a mistake in the formulation process? Was there enough consultation in just the inception process of the Finance Bill 2023-2024? Once we come back right here from this break, by the way, join us online on Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba.
Hey darling, are we still on for a coffee date?
I'm waiting for you to come and pick me up.
I should be able to pick you in a few.
It's a coffee yogurt date?
It's not just a yogurt, it's royal coffee yogurt.
Flow with the sweet taste of thick and smooth Royal Fresh coffee yogurt. Royal Fresh, the royal taste of freshness.
KM Lookup Media, the holding company for Muthingi and Lookuptv, proudly presents the Mount Kenya Region Roadshow. It's time to mark your calendars because from June 26th to July 1st, 2023, we are bringing the excitement to Kiambu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Embu, Meru, Laikipia, Nyeri, Nyandarua, and Nakuru counties. Are you ready to be a part of an electrifying TV roadshow? Join us as we embark on a thrilling journey through the magnificent Mount Kenya region. Lookuptv and Muthingi TV are hitting the road. We are coming straight to your towns. But that's not all. We are not just bringing you TV. We are bringing you an unforgettable experience. Enjoy your favorite comedians like Njoro wa Ukulima ni Mali, Marafiki, among others, live performances, and get a chance to meet your favorite TV personalities right in your own town. To our sponsors and partners, book your slot for the greatest brand experience and conversions. To book this fast-moving opportunity, call 0110-430-158 or email sales@lookuptv.co.ke. Get ready to be swept off your feet as we bring the magic of television to your doorstep. Let the TV adventure begin.
Well, still with Erick Regalo and Erick Mungai on the Finance Bill 2023 that is going to form the back end of how our budget is going to look in a 2024. But that is not essentially what we're talking about. We're just talking about the politics around this particular bill. And now, just as we look into this particular issue, I'd like to get into our third story this morning on essentially what even former governors and former leaders are talking about this particular one, just before we come to Regalo and then talk about what other issues then are developing even within UDA party. Remember, the party for the president, in as regards this particular bill. Now, former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko has called on Kenyans to exercise patience with the President William Ruto's led administration. Sonko has blamed the current economic hardship to the March 2018 handshake that saw the government divide and shift focus. Sonko has, however, insisted that the Kenya Kwanza government has an elaborate plan of reviving the country's dilapidated economy. Sami Adika has more details. Let's take a look at that story. Once we come back, then it's going to be on exactly whether it's true indeed that there's a way back for the Finance Bill 2023. Let's take a look.
With the cost of living skyrocketing day in, day out, former Nairobi County Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko has expressed confidence in President William Ruto's regime, urging Kenyans to be patient as the head of state streamlines the economy that, according to Sonko, is likely to take a few more months to stabilize.
Mimi vile ninavyojua rais wetu ni rais anajali maslahi ya watu wa chini, maslahi ya wanyonge, maslahi ya maasla. Acha tuone mambo yakistabilize kama ataendelea na ile ajenda yake ya kujali maslahi ya wanyonge.
Highlighting his successful plans that saw the city reap greatly on tax collection during his leadership, Sonko explains how it worked against his political rivals.
Ilikuwa sisi tunachukua kwa siku zaidi ya milioni 150. Kwa mwaka alikuwa anachukua, kwa mwezi alikuwa anachukua zaidi ya bilioni 1.5. Lakini shida yangu kubwa ilikuwa ni kutangaza. Kwa sababu Nairobi iko na pesa. Na nikakataa hii pesa iende kwa mifuko ya wakora ikawa naipeleka National Government Central Bank kule Treasury. Basi watakuwa na huyu ni mjinga. Sisi tutafuta hii pesa huko National Government, kumbe yeye anaitangaza hapa. So there were some weaknesses kidogo hapa na pale ambazo zilifanya watu wakaona Nairobi ni shimo la mawe, shimo la pesa.
Governor Sonko ignited a flashback alleging that the Azimio la Umoja chairman and the immediate former president Uhuru Kenyatta orchestrated his removal from office despite him supporting his presidential ambitions for 2 consecutive terms.
Watu walikuwa wanauziwa fia. Mimi najua mimi mwenyewe niliitwa gaidi, nikaitwa terrorist. Nikashikwa na chopa askari zaidi ya 50. Nikakiwa makesi kila mahali. Kama nimekuwa gaidi na nimemsaidia kuwa rais, nimemsaidia hiyo tamu ya kwanza kuwa rais, sasa hii nataka kunitoa ndo nakuwa gaidi. So sisi tuachia Mungu, mambo mengine tunaona bado hasira, kuna hasira ambayo haiwezi isha. Kwa uongozi hasira ni mbaya, lakini ni mzuri pia kuwa mkweli.
After serving for only 3 years of his 5-year term, Nairobi's second governor and a man of the people, as he calls himself, Mike Mbuvi Sonko, was impeached by the Senate for allegations that has since left him on the corridors of justice. Sonko is, however, confident that he will win the battles despite the long process and jump back to his calling like he never left before.
Tunaendelea kutumia sheria, kupigana kikotini, si kivita. Kutumia sheria, Mwenyezi Mungu ni shahidi, anajua ile mambo ambayo ilikuwa tumewekewa. Shida ilikuwa tu ni kutimuliwa pale Nairobi County. Sasa kuna madhambi kubwa ambaye Sonko alikuwa amefanya.
While touching on the much controversial cases facing the DPP Nordin Haji, Sonko has hinted that justice will play its part.
Kimimi haonewi, lakini sitaki kuona into details kwa sasa. Sasa tunamwogopa, mimi siogopagi mtu. Niko na mambo yangu, niko na kesi naye kotini. Nitakuwa sub judice mimi kudiscuss mambo ambayo iko mahakama kwa media. Sina ubaya na yeye, namtakia mema. Ile nafasi rais amempea kama atachaguliwa tunamwombea.
With lots of hope that all will work to his favor, Mike Mbovi Sonko still maintains that he is the favorite politician, evident from his lavish lifestyle and support from his people. Samedika, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
That's it. That's the story. Isn't well, just give the president time. And that's the former Nairobi governor, Mike Mbovi Sonko. All right, here's the thing. Regalo. So you see, that's the going on. And I want you to peg your response on these three particular areas. By the way, there are other developments within the UDA party. The vice chair already is out saying, I do not think that whatever the president is doing right now is whatever we agreed, in as much as our campaigns were concerned. The overtaxation, these housing funds, we did not talk about it, so I do not essentially agree with him. I gotta be out. He's already left the party. But you see, other people weighing in on it right now. And even as we talk about that, the political side of that story again is that there's a mere coalition is meeting tomorrow just to come up with ways to stop the government from introducing this particular taxes in the Finance Bill 2023.
Yeah, thank you, Simba. I want to weigh in on Sonko.
Yes.
And I would wish the picture of Sonko taking tea is shown the other side also.
It's actually right there.
It is right there. I went to the school of, there's something I was taught in school called Kinaya.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm saying something, but I'm laughing at you at the same time.
Yes.
Where is that picture?
It's actually coming through, yes?
That guy is telling you, President is thinking well of you.
Yeah.
Mahasla maisha itakuwa mzuri.
Yeah.
But he's there sitting on a golden chair, wearing a golden watch. The ambience is golden. And he's actually eating. When I was doing Animal Farm, there was nguruwe, and there was the workers. One of them was called the Farasi. I've forgotten the name of the Farasi. Farasi used to say, chochote ni kizuri, even if things were hard. And nguruwe will eat as it's talking to other wanyamas. If you remember the Animal Farm. Now they were eating the best foods. They used to call it tofa, the apple. That's basically what Sonko is doing.
My God,
he's telling Kenyans, maisha itakuwa mzuri, support the president, he wishes you well, nini, nini, nini. Look at where he's talking from. I feel offended by that. Not that I'm jealous. I feel offended. Of course, I feel offended.
Is someone going to ask the question, what would you like him to say? I mean, he's got it.
He's got it. But the person who is telling you to be patient is the person who is flaunting money. The person who is holding dollars, cache of dollars like this. Talking ill of some Embu guy who, I don't know which guy is this, and showing us all the money. Is the guy telling us the president is thinking well of you.
Wrong person to seek views from at this particular time?
Yes. That is a wrong person to even go interview. Because he shows flamboyance when people are hurting.
Well, the Lookuptv editorial team, you've been put on the spot this morning. Why did you choose to interview Sonko on this story?
And Sonko...
They should have told him, let's go outside.
Yes. I mean, he's a young, you know,
is it
his personality?
He's saying he's a Kenyan, though.
Choleric personalities. There are people who like showing off. There are people, you know, Kibaki was a very good personality, melancholic. People who have, but they come, they don't want to show off.
Should have we told him to stop even eating? He was taking tea, by the way.
Yeah, but you're talking to Kenyans who are hungry. Again, is a bill that is going to hurt their food still. That's how I'm going to Animal Farm.
I know that.
So bro.
Here's the thing though, Mr.
So fish, you see, the nation is talking about fish prices going to rise by 50%, but that guy is eating.
Although Samia Dika is the reporter who was actually sent for this story. Let me just could you tell Sonko you can do this while eating? Oh, we gotta go outside. There's too much cold in this room.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into the story.
Going to
editorial department. Though you've been put on the spot. Okay, let's do this. Yes.
Yeah, you're talking to people who are walking while you're driving a Lamborghini, telling them kaini tu hivyo hivyo, and you're in a Lamborghini, and they are walking.
Things are going to be fun.
Yes. Hey, it's funny. Secondly, you asked about the Azimio, what they are thinking. The thought of Azimio is very simple. We've talked with the government. We've told them this cannot work. Honorable Raila Odinga had a face-off with Ruto during the burial of Dedan Kimathi's wife. May her soul rest in peace. And he told the president, hey, bro, this is hard, and Kenyans are hurting, and mzigo ni mzito. The donkey may not be able to carry it any longer. And nothing happened. So what happens? What options do opposition have? I'm in the opposition, but I'm not their spokesperson. But I can give my thoughts. One, the civil society will definitely weigh in on this. And the civil society plus the employers. There's the Federation of Kenya Employers and the unions. We are going to come out and we're going to have a civil strife. So civil strife plus opposition strife may end up being one. And you may not understand, is it Raila maandamano ama sasa ni maandamano ya wafanyikazi? And when it reaches there, we are going to have a failed government because there will be no production, there will be nothing. Does he want us to go there? It was a very good example. The first example, his own deputy party leader walking out of the party. That's a big word. If Oparanya was to walk out of ODM because ODM is not doing this,
yes,
you know, that is painful.
And he walked on the basis of the party politics.
And
now,
he said, what I do in UDA, I'm not paid.
Yes.
He who pays me are Kenyans because he's the chair of Union of Nurses.
Yes.
I'm forgetting the name. He's the chair of Union of Nurses. And you know what nurses are in this country. And they're going to be taxed. So healthcare is going to be affected.
Yes.
If he tells his nurses, we are going on strike, which hospital is going to open without a nurse?
Yes.
Are you getting this? If nurses go on strike, open the hospitals then. Which patients? Dialysis, HIV management. Can't we see what we are talking about?
Yes.
Because who offers dialysis? The nurse specialists who have done renal. Who offers HIV drugs? There are specialists, nurses who have done HIV management. Okay? Who takes care of cancer patients? I mean, we are talking about who takes care of casualty? Patients who are going in from outside. So even admission in hospitals is going to stop. If that is where we are going, we need to refocus.
Yes.
And I'm looking at it because the threat is already given. If you go on with this, then we are going to down our tools. And the first person to down his job as a deputy of UDA is a very serious stakeholder who is the chair of nurses in the whole country. That guy is already telling you, me already off so that I can do this.
Yes.
I'm not going to have a baggage of UDA on my back that will make me not work as competently. So what he's going to do? So if Panyako says we are on strike nurses, Panyako alone can stop this country. Yes. Panyako alone can, how? Nurses are on strike. Ambulances will take patients where? You can have paramedics carrying people. Wait, their drivers take patients wherever you're taking. Who will receive them? So, Panyako will grind this country.
Yes.
So if Panyako does it and other people do it, what will happen? Ruto, and I said this off camera, and Eric, you heard me say this. Ruto needs Raila than Raila needs Ruto.
In this particular issue.
Ruto needs to sit down with Raila and his team. And that is where they were to sit down during the negotiations, which stalled. They were to sit down and take care of this. The finance bill would have gone to that table. How do we reduce prices and not affect maendeleo? The Raila team, which is now I'm saying Ruto needs Raila, would have scrutinized the document and advised. We are taking number 1, tumemaliza. Number 2, tumemaliza. Number 3, tumemaliza. Ikifika, tunaikalia chini, tunai-scrutinize, tunamaliza. Where now we are going to reduce food prices. And it was on the table. You know, this was going to be easy because it was the government and the opposition sitting down to look at a document. Then that document will come out as a Kenyan document where the opposition will not say it is not, we don't own it. The government will not say we don't own it. So these issues of food prices and this issue, and that's why I'm reading the Nation, it's saying fish prices to rise by 50% on new tax, says importers. The food prices will not skyrocket. So Ruto, and I'm using this word, the pride of that government that says lazima ifanyike, refused to sit these people to scrutinize some of these things. And one of the things that made this thing fall is the food prices. One of the things zenye zilifanya hii toki kufe ni food prices. That is what made this thing fall. So now we are going to have maandamano coming back. Then they're going to push this thing to pass.
Yes.
Then we're going to have a struggling government for the next 4 years. They are not going to make it.
Pretty much.
If they can only sit with that document to scrutinize on the article or the article that they said that they're going to handle the food prices, it would have been a government issue.
Doesn't. Pretty much. No. Yes. Mr. Mungai. Here's the question that I want to put to you as well, even as we allow Mr. Regalo to take a tiny breather, by the way. I did announce that he was under the weather this morning. So we could cut back to Mr. Mungai this morning. Do we, or does the Kenya Kwanza side need the opposition in this particular issue? We did see that that's exactly the route that Uhuru Kenyatta took when he wanted to implement his personal project in the country.
First and foremost, we did see several things have come up politically in the course of last week.
You can take a break. Yes.
In the course of last week, we saw the Kenya National Union of Nurses Secretary General, who also doubles up as the vice chair for UDA, resigned.
Yes.
And I think it is within his right when you feel that you know your interests are not catered for within a particular formation, then you have a right and actually an obligation to leave if your views are not in tandem with the views of the institution that you work with. That's one. But I think even as he resigns and even as he seeks greener pastures elsewhere.
Would you say seeking greener pastures? This is exactly what he said. He said, I do not understand with the direction that this government is taking. I can't sit back and say that I'm comfortable with this particular direction. So for me, I resign from this party.
You know, the thing is, so long as you belong to a political formation, there are instances where you will disagree with the position of the government.
On the basis,
that's okay.
Would you say that the Kenya Kwanza government came into place by promising to alleviate some of the, actually majority of the problems of Kenyans, and one area they promised not to touch on heavily was on taxes. But now they look like a tax government, Mr. Mungai. Would you say that?
Not necessarily. You know, there is a big difference between a campaign rhetoric and when you settle in government. You see, it's the same way even when you're dating. You see, when you're dating, the relationship is always rosy. There are some things you're hiding. There are some things the other partner is hiding. And some of these things you can only discover in a proper marriage. And that's the same thing with elections. When you're campaigning and when you're on top of the vehicles and you're bashing the other team that is in government, some things look very rosy. But when you get into government, you realize that your decisions and the decisions that you're going to take actually affect all Kenyans. And I mean all Kenyans. Because when you're campaigning, you're campaigning to a certain audience with the hope that that audience is the majority that will carry you to government. But when you're in government, you now have to look at the full spectrum because your actions as a president reflect on every Kenyan. So having said that, there are decisions that you make in government that are uncomfortable. Do not imagine that even this housing fund is acceptable to all cabinet secretaries. It is not necessarily so.
Yes.
But there is something in government they call collective responsibility. And collective responsibility is, sometimes you could say, I do not agree with this, but since this is a decision of the majority, then as a government we carry out this decision. And I believe by Seth Panyako resigning, it is within his rights, but I feel sometimes it is better when you critique within, because then your contribution is valuable to the actors that are formulating whichever policy.
Yes.
So from that perspective, I think it was okay for him to resign. It is within his legal rights. Then secondly is the issue of opposition.
Yes. What picture does that paint on the party now, and especially on the president? That from within your own house, the people were opposed to this particular plan that you're implementing in the country. They disagree.
It just paints a picture that the UDA government is democratic, and that we do not oppose dissenting opinion, and every member has a right to take whichever actions they deem fit when they feel they are not comfortable. So it actually brings out even in opposition, when we have parties crossing over from opposition saying they do not agree with their views and crossing over to government. So in a democratic country, it is within the right of everyone to shift allegiance, to shift alliances. I mean, that's acceptable.
Is somebody going to ask you that you would like to think or imagine that when you're drumming up support for your biggest agenda as a government, that your party vice chair is walking in every step that you're taking with the leader of the party?
No, it's not necessarily so. As I said, you can have a dissenting opinion,
yes,
and it is usually better when it is done within the party.
Yes.
But there are instances where the kitchen is so hot,
yes,
and they would ordinarily say if the kitchen, if it's getting hot in here, you have a duty and an obligation to leave. So sometimes the kitchen can get very hot, and you can find that you have addressed for the sake of that environment.
Yes.
And it is within your right to do that which forestalls any forthcoming trouble on your part.
Pretty much. So let's talk about what Regalo just spoke before we want to break, that indeed now it looks as if we are heading to a stalemate where you have civil groups telling you we do not need this, you implement it, we go back to the streets. You have Okiumtara telling you I've already prepared a petition, I'm going to hit court the moment this goes through. That right now would appear the moment that one, Dr. President William Ruto, would want to have Raila or the opposition by his side on this particular issue.
The president is on record, and he said one thing, that what he needs is a very strong opposition. And I believe that what the opposition has said tomorrow, yes, Azimio, they are going to hold the mother of all consultations. And I like their choice of words sometime, because it is either the mother of all rallies or the mother, the mother of all consultations. Yeah. So tomorrow is a big day for them, yes, I hear. here because it's only Regalo who can tell us with intricate details.
Yes.
But as an outsider, I can only speak based on what the media has reported. And we look forward to their discussions. We look forward to their interventions.
Yes.
We look forward not only to their deliberations, but outcomes that are sort of patriotic, outcomes that will help this country move to the next level.
Yes.
And to answer your question whether the president needs the opposition leader right now, I agree, he needs him, but in his capacity as an opposition leader,
yes,
in his capacity to critique, in his capacity to put forward an opinion that is contrary, that might actually even be better. And we are not afraid as I would have said as government, but I realize I'm not government. but as a member of UDA, I would want to say that we welcome, we welcome ideas that can help us move this country to the next level.
Pretty much. So once we come back again from this tiny breather, Mr. Mungai, I would like to paint for you a picture of what the Daily Nation has put towards this morning. The biggest issues that, actually the Standard this morning, the biggest issues that the president is facing currently. You would like to think that for a man who's facing his first document, his first budget, that is going to stare or start the legacy of his administration, like to think that would have a few issues to think about. So number one, it's the former president Uhuru Kenyatta said I'm not stepping out of politics, I'm back in it, and right now is full in opposition, sponsoring, supporting, and moving motions. Number three, the opposition could rally up its supporters to the streets again because the bipartisan negotiations, which would like to think that the president would be putting top of his priorities right now, seem to be collapsing. And then number three, there's mere parliamentary meeting Tuesday, that is tomorrow, just to look into ways to stop the president from not just implementing the finance bill 2023 in the budget 2023-2024, but stop taxation, which seems to be the only way out if indeed the president is going to run this country. So you like to imagine then that this will be top of the agenda for the president, but it looks as if with just a couple days left then for us to have the final document for 2023-2024, there are other issues that are bedeviling the president, just like the Daily Nation is putting it this morning. So once we come back, Mr. Mungai and Regalo are going to jump into this. What could be the ideal situation for him to focus on one now, or indeed the other four are going to affect the way that is going to look into these issues? Just right now, quickly, before we come back from this break, I've got a couple of comments that are coming in. This is Maranga MJ, who's saying that you can't compare Singapore with this ragtag outfit. Can you compare corruption encounters in Kenya with that of Singapore? Alvin Wanyeri was saying this housing bill sounds like the next big Kenyan corruption scandal. We do have Shem who was saying that maybe he adds a salary, then taxes. And Lydia Mumbwa was saying achukue salary, sisi tuchukue tax. That's exactly what it is this morning. Then, once we come back, Erick, Regalo, and Mungai are right here. What would be the ideal situation for President Dr. William Ruto once we come back?
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your number one show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Let's go. Let's go.
Beautiful, wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray, 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 pray.
Sensei Institute of Technology is the home to the best practical courses, giving you a hands-on experience to handle the world. A place to build your skills. For you to join us, ensure you have your national ID card and be ready to enjoy the ride. Sensei College, my skills, my future.
It's a good thing that indeed Regalo seems to have taken a breather this morning, and we're into the final minutes, so we can actually give him time off so that he can go cool off. He's under the weather this morning, but hopefully we have him for the next couple minutes as we come to the end of our conversation this morning. The conversation has been around the politics of the Finance Bill 2023. And just before we went on a break, we did look at exactly what the Daily Nation is talking about this morning, that for a man who is indeed fighting to have a document that's going to start the legacy for his administration, is fighting other things as well. The bipartisan talks that have essentially collapsed, if you like us to say so, this morning, and are also a man who said he's not stepping out of politics, that Uhuru Mungai Kenyatta, and also now the parliamentary group meeting that's going to happen tomorrow by the Azimio coalition to weigh in on how they can stop the government from implementing their projects in the Finance Bill 2023. Mr. Regalo, what would be the ideal situation for the president now? What should be fighting for?
President Ruto has a problem, and the problem with Ruto is one.
Yes.
The amount of taxation is not the issue.
Yes.
The issue is the reality against the taxation. And Ruto presidency has hit a rock bottom. Immediately he went in. And he went in with one analogy: we got nothing. And that was done the same day he was eating the Bible. I love using the word eating. Anakula Biblia. You know, I remember that's how I love using the word eating the Bible. So when he took the Bible aloft, he said, when I put it down, Kenya will change.
Yes.
And his deputy said that we got coffers at zero. Now Kenyans are asking themselves, okay, you got the coffers at zero. By 6 months, how much have you made out of that zero? Because our government money is not like a paycheck where you wait for money, end of the salary, you run it, in Aisha you get another one. This is money that enters even when you are seated here. So in that 6 months, when you got that little money you got in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, what have you done? You removed Cabro in State House. Okay, Kalami. What was wrong with Cabro?
The other way around.
The other way around, by the way.
Okay.
Akeka
Cabro.
Yeah.
What was wrong with Lami?
Like the way
was the vehicle skidding? Was it, you ask yourself.
Change of guard. Outlook.
Hata ukihama nyumba, there are things you really don't usumbuani nazo.
Yeah.
Your deputy, we saw the pictures he did a day before. He also changed the ambience of that house. Everything. But you didn't have money. You didn't have money, but you've employed 50 CSs. So the question, why I'm bringing all this, I'm bringing this to ask, okay, you didn't have money, but you added 8 billion to State House, to run State House.
Yes.
You did have money, but we also heard that you were giving allowances to 100 pastors to keep praying for Kenya. So why pilferages, but you didn't have money? The Daily Nation is telling me,
yes,
Ruto seeks 2 billion to globetrot, but we don't have money. So the question is, we are going to tax. We are going to tax ourselves. Let me use the word tax ourselves, not you taxing us, to give you money to run the government. With that little money that you got, what have you done? We are seeing what you have done with that little money.
Yes.
Actually, it have been overspent by even employing a minister that does not have a portfolio in the name of Mudavadi. He's actually the messenger wa kutumatumwa kila mahali. So now the question is, we are now giving you a budget with money. You will create a budget, we will finance your budget. How are you going to spend that money if the little that you've gotten, because you got 0, you are the people who said we got 0. So we are telling you got 0, you made 10. Well, how have you used the 10? So if we give you 100, if you use the 10 wrongly, so we given you 100, you live in opulence. If you need 2 billion to globetrot, you change their house. You took 800 million to buy cars for only 2 offices. That little money you got, you did that. You got 0 money, but you used 200 and something million to eat the Bible in Kasarani, but you got 0. So the little that we are giving you now, more that we are giving you, what will you use it with? That's why we are telling you, please don't overtax us, because we don't trust you, because the little you got, the little you made, sorry, not you got, the little you made because you got 0. The little you made, we know, we've seen how we've used it. So if we give you, how will you use it? That's why we are telling you, please don't tax us. Use the one that you've been using. Then we can now gauge you from the other year. You can now tax. Because the little you made, you've messed it. That is the right word. You've messed it. And you still want to mess it by asking for 2 billion to move around. Magufuli used no money to move around. And he was a president. Kenyatta never left Kenya, Mzee Kenyatta. And he was a president. Why 2 billion to move around? Where to?
Mr. Mungai, what would be the ideal situation for the president right now? He's facing, it looks like he's a man who's fighting on different fronts, when essentially he should be focusing on delivery.
Well, I like Regalo's gusto.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, when you feel he's unwell, one of the things that you need to realize is that he needs to visit a hospital, and he might benefit from NHIF, which has been deducted, and which we initially would pay 500 for hustlers, and now it's 300. Yeah. And he might in that case benefit from what the government is doing. Yeah. But having said that, I must say that in my community we say a tree that has fruits ndio inatupiwa mawe. And chances are high, if you have really nothing to offer, then people have nothing to critique. Yeah. And you know, the President William is not, he has a strong character, and therefore it is expected that the kind of opposition he's going to face is a bit strong in nature. And therefore, I believe that he must continue with the plan. Sometimes it is easy in the melee and in the noises, and I can see now that when I read the newspaper headlines today, you can tell the chalice has already been poisoned. Mm-hmm. You can tell the waters are already murky. And you can tell that the proposals that the president is raising now, it is clear that it looks like the proverbial hyena.
Yes.
Everyone is looking at it in the market, but no one is willing to buy it. But I would like to believe that the hyena might just have the last laugh.
Yes.
And you know, he who laughs last tends to laugh best. And therefore, I believe that this opposition that is facing is good. The fact that we are discussing the issues affecting our country is also a good thing.
Yes.
And I believe whatever happens, whether the finance bill goes through parliament, and whether Okia or Mutata makes good his threat to go to court and object, because you remember when Okia Mutata went to court during the last presidency, the former president quickly abandoned the idea and made it voluntary, courtesy of the court order.
Yeah.
I believe that there is need for change in tact, and because government all over the world is a governments of succession and they are going concern, the Attorney General right now should sit down with his team and figure out what exactly is likely to go to court and what is our defense, because this is sometimes it's politics and it's planning. Last time when we were taken to court as government, what were the salient issues that the petitioners raised? Is that likely to come up? Have we dealt with those issues in this bill now?
Yeah.
Because what sometimes frustrates me, especially when you support a team, is when you see they don't plan. Is when you see they are waiting to be taken to court for them to react.
Yes.
And ordinarily when you react, you're going to lose because the other party has done their homework, and they've done not only the legal homework, but including the social, the political, and the system network.
Yes.
And so by the time you go to react, it's already too late. And therefore, my hope and desire is that we do not want to support a losing team. It feels bad to be on the losing end. And therefore, the government must sit down and plan and say, okay, this is likely to sail through parliament as is or with amendments based on public participation. Suppose we are likely to end up in court. What are the issues that are likely to be raised? How have we dealt with those issues now? What is our counter? What is our plan? Because we are talking about the plan. Now, if we plan like that sequentially, it means that the President William's government, as much as it will have a bumpy ride, it will have a ride nevertheless. But if they sit and react to whatever Azimio is throwing at them, they react. Whatever other actors are throwing at them, it reacts. If someone resigns in the... Because even Seth Panyako resigning should not have been a surprise. Someone should have known that, you know, by the time you resign, and you know this in politics, you've sought advice. You've gone to Simba and said, Simba, hey, nasikia ground, the nurses are beating me, naona kama nita resign. You know, you've sought advice from, I mean, that within you should know that these people are going to resign, and therefore this is our...
Yes.
This is our reaction, or this is how we are going to deal with it. And therefore, I think for this government to be able to steer us in the right direction, they need to plan even for the unforeseen.
Pretty much. Gentlemen, let me paint for you a picture then, which is essentially what the Standard this morning wants the president to recognize. That look here, here's a scenario where you have a lot of civil service unions who are telling you, we're going to go to the streets if you pass it. One. Number two, you have the bipartisan talks, which were essentially giving you headache, and then you started to go into talks where you could find a leeway for that to keep quiet, so you could focus on delivering on the economy, and they are collapsing right in front of your eyes. And then you have a man by the name, Uhuru Mungai Kenyatta, who's also told you, I'm back in it, I'm not going anywhere. So I'm going to form a strong opposition just to look into the way you run issues in this country. Mr. Regalo, what sort of precedents are we setting as a government by saying it is fine Let us go to the streets.
The first one.
We've never had a young president leaving a seat. The two presidents, or rather the three presidents we've had,
yes,
one passed on while serving. Two left at their old age. We've never had a young person leaving a seat. It is a situation we've never gotten ourselves into.
Yes.
And this is the right time to start thinking, what will happen if Ruto now leaves the seat? He's even younger. He's even younger. So you want him to shut up? You know, let's not look at Uhuru leaving the seat. Look at even Ruto leaving the seat. If he doesn't make the second term, Ruto and Uhuru will be two young presidents outside. I'm not saying former president, because once a president, you are a president.
Exactly.
We are Americans.
Yeah.
Even our constitution is more American. So we should always abide by discipline. Once a president, always a president. He's President Uhuru, President Ruto. No. Not former Prime Minister.
Yes.
He's Prime Minister Raila Odinga, not former. We need to be disciplined in our language, and this is language. I'm not teaching anyone, but we need to, you know what happens? We talk like that because we want to lower someone's dignity, and that's why you use former names. But I wish Kenyans don't use those names. Once a president is a president. President Mkapa, President Kikwete, not former President Kikwete, no. They remain presidents because they still are presidential wherever they are. Even where they are, they go outside the country, they are accorded presidential treatment. They don't stop getting motorcade when they leave Kenya. They still get. Is it so, my brother?
It's true.
So when you call them former president, but when they leave the country, they're given bodyguards and chase cars. Tuachange madharau. We need to respect our leaders always. So President Kenyatta is outside. President Ruto is going to go outside. Maybe in 5 years. Let me give an example. He lives in 5 years. That guy will be seriously young. So you have two seriously young, energetic guys and moneyed people outside. So we really need to know how to handle our young guys. Kudos to Tanzania. President Mkapa left. He was a bit older, but President Kikwete left younger. Other guys have left in Tanzania younger. How have they been handled? Why is there no noise in our neighbor? Sometimes we may think Tanzanians are politically younger, but they may have social advice they can give us that will handle our presidents who leave seats. So Uhuru playing politics, I'm not going to venture in Uhuru doing wrongs or bad or goods, should open our eyes in our constitution how we handle these guys. We can give them seats of elders where they also earn salary, and they even talk in public forums. He could be the one running this bill. He could be the one running with it right now. Nimepewa kazi na ndugu yangu mwenye alichukua niwafundishe hii kitu. So people will be like, hey, how do we handle this one now? This guy, how do we handle this guy? And this guy and that guy, they are all presidents. There's no former there, brother. How do we handle people who leave office? The minute we start talking about that, we'll stop these messes. We are looking at Uhuru talking today and saying, I'm not leaving. Ruto will leave. He's much younger. Then we'll have another one coming, Kalonzo. After 5 years, Kalonzo is equally there, still strong. How will we handle 3 presidents in 20 years who are young? That is a question that we need to sit and think. I'm looking at it positively.
Yes.
I'm not saying Uhuru is making a mistake. He's not making a mistake. What do you want a young person to do who is energetic? They keep quiet or keep running around. 2, you talked about the pressure that Ruto is having. Ruto he's having pressure of his own making. You have a president who left the seat, and you have a prime minister who equally has a force behind him. How do you handle these people? It's more social. It's more social. That's why you see, and that's why I'm saying this is America. When Obama was campaigning, and after he won, he brought the presidents who were alive, even the president from the other team, because they are presidents, and had a sitting with them, is it not? And told them, guys, I want you to help me. I'll be seeking your indulgence whenever something is coming up, to hear from you people. How many times did Obama bring in Clinton to even push a story? Clinton would come because it's a bill Obama want to push, the health care. Clinton talked on it, okay? Bush also talked on it, though it was negatively. But you see the former presidents, now I use that word, were talking on it. How is it wrong when a former president in Kenya talks on it? Let's not be so much on the political side. Look at the positive side.
Yes.
So when Obama gave Clinton the job, push for me this, Clinton got a job and a hearing because he's still a president. He commands. Remember, he never left office. His term ended. So that guy is still respected. That is what I'm trying to talk about. Respect that comes with limiting time. So if Ruto want to make this government work, and briefly I said Ruto needs Raila. Ruto needs Raila and Uhuru. Let me now add Uhuru. They need to sit down and talk.
Yes.
And see how they can help each other to run this government. Ruto can never run this government alone. Neither can he run it with Ishungwa. Neither can he run it with Dende. Neither can he run it with Gachagua. Yes. There are three people, very powerful, presidential. Raila and Uhuru and Ruto. Those people, if they are together, they'll run the government.
Pretty much.
Now,
yes,
Raila needs Ruto so that unity comes. Uhuru needs Ruto so that there's convergence of beauty, of peace.
Yes.
In fact, the biggest person here is Uhuru, not even Ruto, not Raila. He has served, he has finished. If Ruto wants to run a government without these two people, Prime Minister Raila Odinga has the universal support and friends globally. Uhuru, having run the government for 10 years, being a son of a former president again,
yes,
already gives Uhuru a bigger space of having a global recognition. Go and say this is Kenyatta's son. Everyone, even in America, have read the history of Kenyatta. They'll want even to see the son. They will not even know who Ruto is first. This is Odinga's son. They know Odinga from 40s and 50s. So those two people coming together will help this guy. But if this guy wants to run the government and hit the two,
yes,
these two are more powerful than him. That's my analogy. Not powerful like wamnyanganye kiti. No, you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So he need them. And they all need each other. Mi hata nashangaa mbona hii bipartisan ilianguka. Ni pride too.
Mr. Mungai, clear this conversation this morning like this. Do you think it is a pressure that it is his own making, like Regalo is saying, that, well, it could be focusing on one thing right now, his budget for 2023, 2024, but because of his, whatever he's saying, his pride, now he is fighting on so many fronts to the point that you do not know exactly what he's going to focus on?
Clarity of focus is very key in terms of leadership.
Yes.
You cannot run not just government but an organization without clarity in focus and where you want to take the organization.
Yes.
That does not necessarily mean that there will be no distractions. Those are bound to be there. Concerning the issue of the former president, I saw either he's in Nigeria or was in Nigeria.
Yeah, was in Nigeria.
I think he has been invited tomorrow to the Azimio Mother of Consultations. I think, as Regalo says, we are still a young democracy, we do not know what to do with former presidents who are young. And I think it's a valid point, but because sometimes as a country we find ourselves in a space where we haven't been before, and we need guidance from those that have gone earlier, or we look around and see what happens. But there is an article that was written yesterday in the Daily Nation concerning dynasties and former and regimes that are termed as dynasties. This is by the governor of Murang'a, Kang'ata. And he said the reason why he wrote that article is because he has a vested interest, because if the dynasties were to come back, him having written the infamous letter, he might be one of the few people to face the guillotine. But he did compare something interesting, and that was to do with the British monarchy.
Yes.
And he did write that some time back, I can't remember the exact dates, either British or French, can't remember which one. There was an uprising, and they beheaded the king at that time. So it was French, eh?
Yes.
But a few years later, the dynasty coalesced, came back and hanged the same guys who had
French Revolution.
And that is why I always say, sometimes treat your opponents kindly.
Yes.
Treat them as human beings. Yes, it's okay to put pressure on them. Let them feel the pressure.
Yes.
But let them know that there is a line within which you cannot cross, either regarding their lives or regarding their families. Let there be some sense of humanness or humaneness when you're dealing with your opponents, because tomorrow is clearly unknown to many of us.
Does it?
And therefore, I think we are still figuring out what to do with the... I saw his team was very happy when he went to Nigeria. They shared their photos all over, and they were very happy.
Yes.
And I think he does well when he's in those spaces. Let him continue in that line. It's a good line. It's a good space.
Yes.
But lastly, maybe these are my closing remarks, is that as a country, let us keep the conversation going. Let us agree to disagree where it matters, and it is okay. Let us have divergent opinions, and that is okay. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have divergent opinions, but let us know that we have a country to run. And let us always know that when this country, for any reason, burns, we will become refugees in those countries that we criticize, Uganda, our neighbors, Somalia, Sudan. So let us always disagree.
Yes.
And do it in a civil manner.
Yes.
Because for the posterity of this country, it needs all our input and our ideas to be able to run. Thank you.
Pretty much. Guess what? That's how it looks. They've waited on it. They've looked at other issues, but took takeaways then. Mr. Regalo says, well, should you interview Mike Sonko again? Tell him to step outside and to tell him to stop eating. It's not good. Okay, some Kenyans also saying, well, we are ready to give one Ruto our salary. We are going to just take the tax that he wants out of the economy. Fine. Guess what? I'll be calling them back again. Once now this goes to the tail end, it's going to go back to Parliament. We do know that tomorrow there's Mayor Coalition Parliamentary Group meeting is meeting just to table the discussions around this area. We shall also report on that. But for now, that's exactly what we have. Take them back to the time. They joined us this morning at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. For all those who've been with us this morning online and here right here on your screens, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow for another edition. Good morning and goodbye.